Hey guys, and welcome to my next tutorial. So in this tutorial we are going to go over the effects. I know I said I was going to do color, but I forgot that we had to have a look at the effects first. So we'll do color next. Promise, promise, promise. Okay. So in this tutorial, yeah, we're going to be looking at effects. So we've looked at the effects controls, which are these up here, and the effects are one of the windows down the bottom here. So let's just click on this double arrow button, or it might be a single arrow if you've only got a few buttons open. And there's a whole bunch of little windows here. So we've got media browser, which I never use. Libraries, I never use that either. Don't even know what that does. Info, actually I never use any of these. So yeah, you can end up with all these little windows that are opened, and you can close them just by clicking on one of this little stack of lines there and going close panel, and that'll just close it. Because a lot of these ones I just don't never even use, like markers, history. I could see that you could be useful, but I never use it. But the one that I do use a lot is effects, and you guys are probably going to use this a lot too. So this is the effects control of the effects window. Sorry, we had effects controls or effect controls. Sorry, and then the effects themselves. So we've got a bunch of audio effects, audio transitions, video effects, and video transitions. So let's just have a quick look at video effects. So if you click on the little drop down arrow, it will open up all the effects. Now, generally speaking, there is a lot of effects in here. And Premiere Pro is pretty good for a lot of stuff, but it's mostly just really good for editing. So any sort of visual effects we use in After Effects, which we will be covering later on. So don't worry too much about that. But you could do things like you could click on any of these effects, any of the drop down arrows, and it will open up the folder with all the effects in. And you can drag any of these effects onto a shot to make it the effect appear on the shot. So this one is called Mirror, and so when you drag it onto the effect, it will apply. Or sorry, when you drag the effect onto the shot, it will apply it to the shot. So at the moment, this one's not doing anything because we have to change some of the effect controls for the effect to actually work. So when you drag an effect onto a shot, like I just did, it will appear in the effect controls. The controls for the effect will appear here, as we can see. So in order to make this one work, we have to change one of the controls. I think it's the reflection angle. Yes, so we have to bring the mouse over and just move it to the right, and it will apply the effect. So I think we put it to 100 or 90. I can just type that in. And there is your mirror effect, which is pretty cool. You know, I mean, maybe it's useful for some stuff, for some sort of artsy, super creative thing. Maybe not for a shot types or cityscape video, but it's definitely got its uses. I'm just going to go Control Z to go back. And if you want to delete the effect from your shot, you can push delete. So you just select the name there and go delete, and it will get rid of it. So there's all sorts of effects here, like lens distortion. Actually, I don't know what that does. Yep, yep. So it creates a kind of lens distortion type effect. It's a little bit more advanced, but what else have we got? Sphereize, I don't know what that does. A lot of the stuff I never use either because I don't know what it does. Oh, that's pretty crazy. Okay, it does a kind of a spherical type crazy effect. So with the effects, they can be keyframed as we did in one of the previous videos. So you can select a keyframe or a point on the timeline, put in a keyframe, and then move that over and make it expand like that, do some crazy stuff. Now that's for getting super creative. Like I said, maybe not the best thing for a Cityscapes video or a Shot Times video, but I'm sure it has its uses for some things. Yeah. So with the effects, whenever you put an effect onto the timeline or onto the shot, you'll see that part of the timeline where the shot is goes red. So it goes red. So that means you've applied an effect to the shot, and it may slow down when you try to play it back in here. So the more effects you put on stuff, the more it's going to start to slow down. You know, if I put like a whole bunch of the effects on these shots, and, then we might get a whole timeline of red like that, and eventually it's going to start to slow down the computer. Computer's not going to be able to handle the playback preview, especially when there's lots of shots. See, you can already see it starting to slow down because there's lots of red there. So that basically means that we need to render out all the frames that have in the preview. So this is the preview of what is going to be finally exported. So that means we've got to render out the frames in order for the playback of the preview of your video to play smoothly. So we hit enter on the keyboard, and that will bring up this little window here saying, okay, I'm going to render out all the frames, and you can see the little blue progress bar going across, and then it's telling you the frames that it's rendering out. And when it has finished rendering, it will go green. So that's going pretty fast. So then I can play it, and it should play back smoothly. I didn't actually do anything to these effects here, so let's look at this one. That was the mirror one. Oh, yep, we'll just put it 90. Whoa! And this one was the twirl. Yeah. So then I'll re-render those frames. So every time you make a change in here to your effect, you will need to re-render the frames. So we'll just do that. Depending on how many shots you've rendered, that will affect how long it takes to do this. So let me have a quick look at what's going on. Whoa, freaky. So there we go. So that's the effects. Now just another little tip for you guys. You can also change the resolution playback, which is this button here. Right, so if you've got lots of stuff happening and it's slowing down no matter what you do, you can always change the resolution playback resolution, sorry, which is this one here. At the moment it's set to full. You can change it to half, or you can even change it to a quarter. So basically that just means that the resolution will not look as good, but that's only in the preview. This is the preview. So even if you have this on, when you export your final video, it will export it at full resolution. So this is just to help if your computer's starting to slow down. Okay, so that's what that one's for. So when we talk about the effects, so we've seen some of the crazy effects that you can put onto the shots. There's a bunch of other effects like color correction. We'll get into color in the next video, so we won't talk about those. But there is also transition. So we'll talk about transitions a little bit. So I've got audio transitions and video transitions. So video transitions are things like dissolves. So just there's a bunch of different types of dissolves. The most common one that we use is cross dissolve. And these just dissolve from one shot to another. So if you bring it in between a shot or two shots, it will put it in a little dissolve. Like that. There's also other types of ones that you can do, like iris transitions. and slides like that. So every time I put one of those in, it needs to be rendered. So we'll push the enter key and we'll render out the frames for that. Takes a little bit longer with the transitions, I find, for some reason. I don't know why. Yep. So then we can see our transitions. Let's have a look. Cool. So those are transitions. There's a whole bunch of transitions that you can experiment with. Now, transitions are cool, but the rule of thumb is that you don't want to get too carried away with transitions, right? Because they serve a specific purpose in filmmaking. So, I mean, you guys have seen films and TV. You would have seen cross dissolves, right? They're used specifically to cross dissolve from one scene to another, right? To show the passing of time, traditionally. So the rule of thumb is to not get too carried away with the transitions, right? And don't put them on every single shot like I've done. I was just doing that to demo or demonstrate what they are. But things like fade to blacks, which are into transitions, dissolves, all of the transitions, just don't get too carried away putting them on every shot. It's fine to have a straight cut, you know. Just having a straight cut like that is fine. There's nothing wrong with having a straight cut for every shot. In fact, it's better to have a straight cut for each shot than it is to have a transition for after each shot, you know, because it kind of looks a little bit tacky, a little bit corny, cheesy, and a little bit amateurish, in my opinion. So yeah, don't get too carried away with the transitions. Is my advice to you guys. And the only other thing I'm going to show you guys is the audio transitions, which are over here. So I've got audio effects. I'm not going to get into audio effects because we're not really going to be doing any audio for these projects, first few projects. But we will be, you might want to use some crossfades. So we've got constant gain and constant power and exponential fade. So let's say you want to cut your audio track there and you want it to fade out. Now you can use the pen tool like I showed you guys, or you can use the exponential fade effect, which does the same thing. So you drag it onto a piece of audio and it fades it out, just like that. You can zoom in on the timeline and then you can expand it to make, if you want to make it longer or shorter, like that. Cool. And you can do whatever you want. So that's how you fade in audio tracks, and the constant gain is the same thing, but at the start of an audio track. So it basically makes it get louder from 0. Okay, cool. So there we go. That is the audio transitions and video transitions and video effects. Okay.